Hi, and thanks for watching. In this video, I'm going to recommend 4 different web hosting services for WordPress. Now, the truth is there isn't one hosting company that's the best for everyone, but I am confident that one of these 4 companies is going to be a great match for you. So let's get started by first looking at the fastest web host for WordPress. Hi, I'm Tyler Stokes, and I've personally bought and used dozens of different web hosting services, and I'm going to recommend the one that I use the most often, but the truth is I do use several different companies for different types of websites. So I really want to recommend a hosting service that's going to be the best solution for your WordPress website. Now, I wanted to do something a bit different and actually recommend the fastest host right out of the gate. Now, depending on your current website, you might not need this fast premium host right away, but you might want to upgrade to it as your website and your business evolves. My top recommendation for speed is WPX Hosting. Now, I personally use WPX Hosting, but I don't recommend them as my overall #1 pick. And the reason is that, sure, they are fast, but you are going to pay a bit more money. And for many beginners, you don't need to pay a premium on hosting when you're first starting your website. What I often do is host a website on a more affordable host. And once it gets established, it starts making me money, or it becomes more of an important website, then I consider upgrading it to a faster host like WPX Hosting. So if you're a beginner or you're just starting a brand new website, then you probably don't need to use this premium host. However, if you have a website which is important for your business and you want one of the fastest web hosts available, then I strongly recommend you consider moving to WPX Hosting. They migrate your site over for free and they do a great job. Now, some of my best performing affiliate marketing websites are hosted with WPX Hosting, and I couldn't be happier. They load fast, and their support staff is one of the fastest and knowledgeable that I've ever come across. In a world where customer service seems to be going downhill in many industries, it's such a great feeling to jump on a support call with WPX and get any issue resolved right away. And again, the more established your website is, the more important this recommendation is. So here are some pros and cons of WPX Hosting. So firstly, it's fast. I've personally noticed this, and there are several in-depth tests from other marketers which do reveal WPX to be extremely fast. The support is great. You can literally get on a call in seconds, and their staff really know their stuff. And then they have some great features. You know, SSL is free. They do free migration, so you can transfer from one host to them for free. They do daily backups. They have a staging platform where you can make some changes that aren't live right away. They do scanning for malware, and if there's any malware on your site, they remove it for free. And WPX does have amazing reviews from other people as well. So a few of the cons just would be that they don't actually have phone support, but their chat support is great. They aren't that cheap. They're not super expensive, but again, you know, you are paying a bit more of a premium type of price. And then the dashboard is, you know, not the greatest. It's not super user friendly, but I don't think that really matters. So overall, they are a great host, and the only reason I don't recommend them sort of as my overall top recommendation is simply the entry price. You know, many beginners or sort of the average user of WordPress who's building a website, they probably don't need to pay around $20 per month for hosting right off the bat. But if you're not a beginner or you're looking to switch up your hosts, I highly recommend WPX Hosting for their speed, support, and excellent features. For my second recommendation, I want to take a bit of a 180. Now, this is not the slowest host because I'm not going to recommend a web host that's very slow to you, but it is one of the cheaper options. Now, Bluehost is on my list because it's actually recommended by WordPress, and it's a great option if you're looking to save money. So if WPX was the best host for speed, this would be the best cheap host, which is still reliable. Now, you'll notice that a lot of marketers recommend Bluehost. If you do a Google search for a list of the best web hosting companies, you will find Bluehost at the top of many of these lists. Now, one reason which some people have pointed out is they actually pay marketers good money to promote them. So that might be a factor into their popularity, but every hosting company pays people through an affiliate program to promote their services. So I'm recommending Bluehost as the cheap option in this list because it is very affordable and it has the stamp of approval from WordPress itself. So it's cheap and it works for many people. Now, there are other hosting companies which are actually cheaper. However, I've tested many of these and some of them are terribly slow with zero support, and they're actually a complete waste of money. Now, full disclosure, I don't use Bluehost for any of my important websites at the moment, but I have used them in the past, and I would recommend them to beginners who are trying to save the most amount of money. As always, if your business reaches a point where you need a better host, then you can simply transfer somewhere else. So bottom line, Bluehost is a good option for beginners who want to save the most money but still get decent performance. So quickly, here are just the pros and cons of using Bluehost. So the main pro here is that it is an affordable hosting company and it is approved by WordPress. So if you're looking for a cheap option, many beginners tend to gravitate towards Bluehost. They have some good entry prices that are appealing to beginners, especially if you're starting a website and you're not sure if it's going to be profitable, or maybe you're just starting a personal blog. Bluehost has some affordable prices that are pretty good for beginners. Now, if we look at the cons, that sometimes when you're paying a cheaper price, you sometimes do get a cheaper product or not as premium of a hosting experience. And you will probably notice that you're going to get sort of average speeds, sort of average support. You're not going to get great support that's super fast. And then if you are going to need anything else, such as transferring a website to Bluehost or getting rid of malware, you will find that there's going to be a few extra fees for those. So that's a con for sure with Bluehost. And then if you dive into some of the recent reviews, you'll notice that Bluehost is getting a few bad reviews. Every hosting company has bad reviews. People have bad experiences. And sometimes these are just one-off sort of anecdotal stories. But for the most part, Bluehost tends to get quite a few sort of negative reviews. But bottom line, it's a cheap host. It's a good option for beginners. And again, if you go with them, that's fine. As your business progresses, you can consider sort of upgrading and transferring to a better host. Next on our list is WP Engine. So I would recommend WP Engine to digital marketing agencies or individuals with very large and important websites. If you manage other people's websites, then WP Engine could be a good option to consider. So once you host several different websites, their features become really useful and the price on some of their plans offer really good value for money. I personally have an account with WP Engine where I host my client websites. So these are websites for local businesses who I personally manage. I do their web design and their SEO. Now that's the reason I use WP Engine. I transfer the hosting costs to the clients who pay me to manage and rank their websites. And I can do it all within one dashboard. And more importantly, I have found WP Engine to be very fast and reliable, which I'm happy to use for important client websites. And they were actually one of the first web hosts that I personally found which had this staging environment feature. So you could basically build a temporary website for a client on a staging platform and allow them to view it, see the new design, and then once they approved it, you can sort of move from the staging site to the live site with just a few clicks. So WP Engine sort of allowed me to transfer a client's old site to the new fast platform that they have, make changes without the site being, changed as it was live on the web. And then once they approved the new design, the site went live. Now, many other premium hosts, they have this new sort of staging environment feature as well, but I found WP Engine's sort of production environments to work really, really well, and I've been very happy with them for hosting my client websites. So here are some pros and cons with WP Engine. So they have great speeds and they have great support. They have a phone line that you can call 24/7, and anytime you jump on a support call, their support staff is very knowledgeable and they seem to, figure out any problems that you might have. Now they do have a lot of extra features as well, and some of these are beneficial if you're hosting and managing, several websites or some bigger important websites as well. They do daily backups, they do all the SSL certificates, they do auto upgrades and auto updates to WordPress and so on. So if you're managing, a bunch of client websites, then this could be a good host to consider looking into. And I mentioned the environments. You can do a lot with their staging environment, so you can make changes and then get approval from a client. And then once they approve it, you can just click live and you can basically transfer the staging site to the live site online. So it's great for managing other people's websites, in my opinion. They do offer a 60-day money-back guarantee. So you can always set up with them, transfer your website and see if you like it for 60 days and see if you like the dashboard and all the features. And if you don't, then you can basically just go back to your other host that you were using if you're going to transfer over. Now, again, the cons, some of the prices are very expensive. So if you're a beginner, you certainly probably don't want to get started with WP Engine. But if you have an important business site or a site that's making you money right now, then you might want to, transfer it over and use WP Engine. They do have a few compatibility issues with some themes and plugins. So you might want to check that before you transfer over, but you can just jump on a support call and just say, these are the plugins I have. This is the theme I'm using. Is this compatible? Using their dashboard is a little bit confusing. At first, you will kind of get used to it, but at first it might be a bit intimidating. So that 60-day money-back guarantee is helpful with that. If you really don't like it, then you might want to consider some other options. Now, they don't have any email hosting either. So if you're going to do email hosting for a client, then they will need to sort of host their emails somewhere else. My best overall recommendation right now is SiteGround. So I think SiteGround is probably the best option for most people. Their starter plans are really affordable for beginners, and then as your business grows, you can manage its needs with one of SiteGround's upgraded plans. So I personally host many websites over at SiteGround, and if I start a new affiliate marketing project, I normally start it with SiteGround. So based on my personal experience, I am happy to recommend this as the top pick. Now, SiteGround is also recommended by WordPress itself, and out of the 3 recommended web hosts from WordPress, I do feel that SiteGround is the best choice. And it does have a lot of great WordPress features. So it has a quick and easy installation process. You can transfer WordPress websites. They have free SSL certificates. They have some specific plugins that are useful for your WordPress website. And then they do offer great support and fast loading time. So SiteGround support has always been excellent for me. Having a good support staff, as I mentioned, is really important for web hosting companies. And when you look at the cost of their plans and then you look at the quality of the support, I think you're really getting good value with SiteGround. Now, normally, you never need to call them, but when you do have a question or something goes wrong, it's nice to know that you can get help quickly. And the uptime is excellent on SiteGround as well from my personal experience. I think, SiteGround ranks well in terms of overall speed. I think if you did a head-to-head match with, a host like WPX Hosting, that's probably faster. But when you factor in price and their support, it's hard not to recommend SiteGround for the majority of users who are looking to start a website. So here are some pros and cons of SiteGround. So again, they do have great speed, great support, and then great prices. So when you sort of bundle that all in, overall, it's like a really good value for money, in my opinion. They do have some good features as well. They have some staging environments with some of their plans. They can do daily backups as well, and you do get that SSL certificate. So they do have a lot of good features as well. So some of the cons One would be there's no free malware removal. So if you run into problems, you might have to hire someone to remove that or pay SiteGround too. And then their prices tend to increase a bit after the first year of your plan or after whatever sort of bundle you bought. The prices tend to go up. This happens with all different hosting companies, but SiteGround, their prices tend to increase a little bit more than some other hosts. And then there is the issue with some transferring of sites. If you have a site and you're going to transfer to SiteGround, people have reported that they've had a few issues with that. So just be well aware that the transfer process might not be super smooth if you're coming from a different host. But overall, SiteGround is a great host for many, many people. Okay, so which host is best for you and your current situation? So we highlighted 4 different web hosting companies that are all a little bit different. And I think each one of these can be a good fit for you depending on, what type of business you have, if you already have an established website, or if you're a pure beginner and you're just starting a new personal blog. So we first looked at WPX Hosting, and they are a very, very fast host, but with that comes the extra price where, the entry point to get in with WPX Hosting is about $20 a month if you buy their annual plan. Now, you do get to host 5 websites, but if you're just beginning and you're starting your very first site, you probably don't want to start paying $20 a month. However, if you have an important website for a client, or you have a personal, business website that is earning money right now and you're not happy with the current host you have, do consider switching to WPX Hosting. They transfer the site over for free. Their support is amazing and they have very, very fast loading speed. So I would highly recommend WPX Hosting to anyone that's sort of not just starting their very first website. Next, we looked at Bluehost. So Bluehost is very popular and they do have very affordable plan. So if you're a beginner and price is really a concern for you, and maybe you're not going to build a website that is going to, make you any money, you might be just starting a personal blog, then Bluehost is a good host to consider. They are recommended by WordPress, but just keep in mind that you're going to get sort of average speeds, average support, and there aren't a lot of great reviews out there if you need a more robust sort of plan. So again, it's going to be great for beginners who are looking for that cheap option, but you always do sort of get what you pay for when it comes to certain hosts, especially with Bluehost. Next, we looked at WP Engine. So if you're going to manage a bunch of different websites, maybe you have a digital marketing agency, or you're going to start doing web design for people, then you might want to look into WP Engine. They've got some good plans that really excel when you start using some of the features when you're having multiple websites that you're looking after. So they do some auto updates, they do automatic backups, and they have a good price point when you are managing, more than say 15 websites. So those are some of the reasons why you might want to look into WP Engine. They do have great support as well, and they have great speed as well. And again, it's more of a premium type of host. So if you're a pure beginner, you probably don't want to start with WP Engine. But if you have a business in the digital marketing sort of realm, then you certainly might want to check out WP Engine and just go and see what sort of starter plans that they have, or some of their enterprise plans might be of interest to you. Lastly, we looked at SiteGround. So I think SiteGround is, a really good overall pick for many people. It's great if you're just starting because their starter plans are affordable, and then you can sort of upgrade your website as it grows. So as it gets more visitors, as it gets more important, you can sort of upgrade from the starter plan to the Go Geek or to their business plans as well. Speed is great in my opinion. I have never had any issues, and then support has always been great for me as well. So I personally use SiteGround for a lot of my websites, and as they grow, sometimes I stick with SiteGround, or sometimes I transfer some of them to WPX Hosting. But overall, SiteGround is a good website hosting company, in my opinion. For the majority of people, I think you will be happy. Now, keep in mind, there are several other options out there which are, good, and some are bad as well. You're always going to find good reviews, and then you're always going to find some really bad reviews out on the net as well. Sometimes, if you come across one bad review, don't let it skew you. Come and watch more videos. Look at some other people's reviews. There are some other people that are doing like in-depth speed tests with many hosts. You might want to check that out. But I think for the most part, one of these 4 hosting companies is going to be a good match for a lot of people. So I certainly hope that you found this video useful. If you want more information on these specific hosting companies, you can find a link to them directly below this video. And if you did find tutorials like this useful, please consider subscribing to this YouTube channel. I am going to be releasing, website and affiliate marketing tutorials every single week. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.